Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to be here this afternoon. We've got a good turnout here, and I'm sure the family really appreciates it. So what we're going to do today to commemorate Ted is, in lieu of a more formalized, memorial service with a clergy person up here, preaching per se, we decided after talking to the family that we're going to have more of an open floor sharing session. So with that said, we're going to put the spotlight on you guys. We're going to encourage you, if you'd like, to come on up, share a memory, share a story, something in your life and times together, even something humorous to share with everyone. Once we get started here, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll keep it going until it's obvious that we've all said enough. So with that said, it just takes one to get us started. I know Jackie is going to come up here at some point, but may I ask, is there anyone who would care to come on up to share? Anyone at all? All right, come on, just come on up. You can use the microphone here and we'll... Yep, thank you. Please introduce yourself, okay?
Okay. My name's Thomasina Pena. I knew Ted. Yeah, I know I'm short. Yeah. I knew Ted and Jackie, you remind me of your mother. That's why I was getting ready to call her Jackie. The first friends I had when I came to Dover in 1990 were Kathy and Ted. And she used to call me Mom. I used to call her Mom. She used to call me daughter, and she used to tell everybody to leave me alone where we worked whenever they bothered me. Ted was always just very calm, and they would get ready to go fishing or crabbing, and they would come get me 5 o'clock in the morning. And if I missed the crab or I lost the fish because it went off the hook, I caught it from him. So of course Kathy had all the time in the world to just sit there and laugh all day long. But he was a wonderful person. He was very caring. Anything you needed, he was always there. And him and Jackie, like I said, him and Kathy, I knew them since they were like yay high or whatever. But they were always there, and if I needed anything, or if they wanted to do something as a family, I was always invited to come. I used to always mess with them because I would tell them I was the short one in the family, and I was the black sheep of the family. So we got a kick out of that, but he will be missed. I try to keep in touch with him after Kathy passed, and it was hard. I caught him a few times, but most of the time I couldn't catch him because he wouldn't return my calls, or he was somewhere, but he is going to be missed, and I loved him very much, as well as Kathy.
My name is Donna Messick. My mom, Phyllis, was Uncle Ted's sister. And when, I just wanted to let you know, those that know Ted knew what a wonderful carpenter he was. He could build or fix anything. We were building our house in 1974. I was 10 years old, and Ted would come every day after work, all day working. He would come every day to our house on his way home, because we didn't live too far apart, and he would help Daddy build the house, and every weekend until it was built. And one thing I do remember, even though I was 10, something wasn't going right with measurements or whatnot. My dad got mad, threw a hammer through a piece of drywall, and Uncle Ted looked at him and said, "Well, damn, that's my last hammer." But I just wanted to say that.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ivy, Ted's oldest granddaughter. My papa was a man of many words, but the ones he said were the most meaningful, so I'm going to do my best to keep it short as well. A key phrase that comes to mind, and do try to imagine this in his voice. Get the crab in the boat. Later followed by, well, we will get him next time. The last words he shared with me was, "I love you." My papa showed his love with the time he shared with his family. Some of my favorite childhood memories are on the boat and camping at Cherrystone with him and my mama. I spent many, many summers and a lot of time with him. A moment that will forever stay with me was Pop-Up singing "Hey Good Lookin'" at the campground's karaoke stage dedicated to my mama. I will always cherish the many hours we spent on the porch as a family, enjoying a bushel of crabs. At the end of the day, it was never about the crabs, but about getting everyone together for quality time. The home my grandparents built together became a gathering place and a second home for many. Over the last 50 years, countless parties and family meals have happened there. If only I could have one more boat ride, shared meal, or a chat on the porch with him. He will forever be missed and always in our hearts. Thank you.
Hi. If you don't know me, my name is Jade. I'm one of the granddaughters of Wilson Gardner Jr., who many of you know as Ted or Teddy. To some of you, he was a friend, to others, a brother, brother-in-law, father, grandfather. To me, he was simply there. He was always there. He was there for every choir concert, band performance, basketball game, field hockey match, and every other extracurricular activity that filled my childhood. When I jumped off the playground equipment at Cherrystone and knocked out several teeth, he was there. Helped me rinse the sand from my mouth and making sure I was okay. During the summers, we would sit down and he would have me read, ensuring I read every single page, even though it was very grueling for the both of us. He was there for my high school graduation as well, because we all knew that no wheelchair was going to keep him from seeing his girl graduate. What mattered most, however, was not only his presence at the major milestones, it was the smaller moments, the ordinary basketball games and field hockey matches, even though we both knew sports were never really my strength. I knew I was not very good, and he knew it too, but that never mattered. He was always there cheering me on and making sure I knew that I was supported. And no matter the event or the circumstance, I could always look up and find him there, proud of his girl. And we all knew that if he wasn't there, he had a very good reason. And although he's no longer physically with us, what he gave me and the role he played in my life will always remain with me. And I know that every future milestone, every achievement, and every quiet moment in between, if he could be there, he would, cheering me on just like he always did, no matter how small or unimportant the moment might seem.
I'm Rick, Ivy Oldham's and Jade's father. Whenever people ask me when I'm building something or trying to put something together, woodworking, whatever, is how do you know how to do that? Well, all these years, Ted's always involved in that answer. And whatever he had a hand in building, he built it like a tank, or it could hold a tank. Examples, my shop, the deck. There's a picture up there of a playhouse suspended in the air that we built in his driveway, then moved it 10 miles over to 1190, back when the girls were little. And then later on, the chicken coop. That is still Oldham's chicken coop. And certain things that I will remember that he could see, he saw beauty in simple things, like just how straight a wall was when he got done with it. He admired it, he loved it. And a few of us will know this one. Somebody's always got to hold the 6x6 and not walk away from it after we get it set, plumb, and the last one, we ain't building a church. He'd get it so close and that would come right out of his mouth. We ain't building a church, it's good. And lastly, I was blessed and honored to experience what I believe were three of Ted's most cherished and beautiful creations. Ted's 40-plus year marriage to Kathy, his daughter Jackie, and my daughter's mother, Terry. I love and appreciate the impact Ted and Kathy had on my life.
Hi, guys. My name is Autumn. I am the other of the trio of Ted's granddaughters. Gosh, y'all making me cry. He had a wonderful eye for beautiful architecture, but my grandparents also had an eye for some lovely junk that their grandkids created. Let me tell you. That pot back there on the table, I found that out in the Chester River, Chesapeake Bay, somewhere out there. It was abandoned. It had an ugly old float on it and everything. My mom fixed it up. She put that crab in it, and she hung it in her kitchen for the last 15 years. It's been hanging in the kitchen. One of their most prized possessions, I would say. I don't know if any of you heard the story of Elmer. He was a tree that my sister brought home, and I'm pretty sure my grandma thought it was gonna die. But she said, just plant it right there, out in front of the deck, and between the pool and the deck. And it stood there until, what, a couple weeks ago? It stood there? Yeah. Ugly tree. It had all of its branches on one side. I bet Mom and Pop thought that was the prettiest tree ever. Yeah. I just wanted to say everything that we created and that we accomplished, they always were proud of us, no matter if it was a junky old pot or an ugly tree that we planted in the yard. And I thought that was wonderful.
How y'all doing? My name's Rich. I hope I don't make y'all cry like everybody else is doing. I've known Terry, Jackie, Ricky, Ted, Kathy for, I don't know, 30 years at least. Met them, pool party here, gathering there, and then I moved across the street from them because they said, hey, there's a house for rent across the street. So I moved in. Spent a lot of time with Ted and Kathy. Ted's usual first words was, hey man, want to go fishing? Mom make breakfast in the morning. Sign me up. Always good for breakfast and a day out on a boat with them. But spent a lot of good times with the crew back there that were invited to every family function, every birthday party, no matter what it was. Nothing but great memories over there. And they say Ted was a man of few words, but that's not really true. He had a lot to say. You just had to be in the right spot to hear it. Sometimes it's when others walked away, but he really was just one hell of a guy, and he will definitely be missed.
Most of you don't know me, but my name's Steve. I'm partly to blame for getting Ted started crabbing over in Chester River about 40 years ago. So you can hold that against me. But I sit here and think about Ted. I've got some stories I'll never forget. And his laugh I'll never forget. And I'll just share one of the stories. One day me and him went fishing. And we started in Mahon. We end up at Augustine. And this time it's dark now. We started in the morning and it's dark. We're still fishing. So I said, well, we got to get back home sometime. So we headed home from Augustine to Collins Beach. About 200 yards from the mouth of Collins Beach, ran out of gas. I said, well, what are we going to do? He said, I don't know. I said, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I said, I think I can swim this boat across this mouth of this Collins Beach. I jumped in the water, throw me a rope, and I swung that thing like this, one hold on. And he got in there and helped me too. So, but that was a hell of a story. And, I mean, I used to go over to him, because him and his wife, Kathy, and my wife used to work together. That's how I met him. And we used to we didn't need much of an excuse to have a party. I mean, come Halloween, we grabbed a tractor and a wagon, and it was a beer fest on a wagon. But, yeah, I'm gonna miss Ted. He's a good guy. You guys are lucky to have a dad like that. And I remember you two when you were real little. Telling on my age now. But anyway, yeah, Ted's laugh I won't forget. And I just took him over some oysters about a month ago. I'm glad I did.
Will there be anyone else? I'm going to put the microphone up really high.
Honoring a life well lived. My name's Jackie. I think you all know. And this is my testimony. In God's word, Matthew 5:8, it says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And that gives me a lot of comfort because my dad, Wilson Gardner Jr., certainly pure in heart. So now I know he is with God. I know this in my heart. So first I want to say thank you, Lord, for your grace during this difficult time. But also thank you for letting me have him as my daddy. He was simply the best. In Jesus' holy name, amen. Shit. No one was like my dad. If you really knew my daddy and you know anything about me, then you know we were tight, like peas and carrots. I want to share my favorite memory of my father. And there are so many great memories that have been shared today. And I want to thank all of you for your candid memories. And for those of you that have called and can't speak today, and for sharing your memories with me. I heard some great ones today, thank you. So here's my personal favorite. As most of you know, I was what you'd call a hyper child. My mother would get sick of my shenanigans, and when Daddy would come home from work, she'd say, "Take your daughter through gritted teeth, take her," you know. So he'd pack me up in his old work truck, and we'd head into town and get some gas over at Tappahannock where he used to work. And we'd stop over at the Clayton Tavern, and he'd get a road soda. And I'd get a Pepsi and a bag of potato chips if I sat in the truck and waited patiently. I became his sidekick, and we would pal around, and we did everything together. You see, Daddy and Mom only had 2 kiddos, just Terry and me. Just girls. But that didn't stop Daddy from teaching us both all the boy stuff. I learned how to hunt and fish. I learned how to change my own oil and tires. I learned how cool monster truck rallies really were, and tractor pulls, and car races, sledding and ice skating. So many memories on the boat. But my favorite was the air shows. And my love for flying started very young. We were down at Dover Air Force Base, and it was just Daddy and me this time, best friends. And that day, I saw the Air Force Thunderbirds perform for the first time. I was about 10 years old, and I decided then and there I was going to do that. I was going to fly those airplanes. So I asked my dad if girls could fly those airplanes, and he said he didn't know. So that night after the air show, I remember coming home and tearing into our Britannica encyclopedia. For those of you in the newer generation, it's like the internet, but in books. At any rate, I walked out to Daddy, and I proudly pronounced that I was going to be the first female Thunderbird pilot. And here's the cool part. Dad looked at me, and without skipping a beat, he said, "You know what? I believe you can do anything you put your mind to, baby." So the dream was born, all because of my father's unconditional, safe love. That's what he did for me. He gave me a safe place to chase my dream. I went into the Air Force, and I finally earned those wings. I went on to fly a different aircraft, but the first female Thunderbird was chosen while I was still a student in Air Force pilot training. But by then, that had ceased to matter. I had made it. I had reached my dream of flying military aircraft. You know what that means? He believed in me so much that I had no idea that many women weren't really flying when I started that journey. I was stunned when I arrived at pilot training in 2004, having already been in the military for 9 years. And I was the only female in a class of 28 students. My dream was so big it was nearly impossible, but he believed in me so much that I didn't know my dreams were not the norm, that I did not fit into the cookie-cutter mold. I could never have made it to that particular pinnacle of my life if he had not carried me with his unwavering belief. He was always my biggest supporter and cheerleader. He made me believe that I could do anything I put my mind to. There was this one time in undergraduate pilot training where I was really struggling. I wanted to quit. By now, reality had kicked in, and I had come to the realization that many of the men that I was with didn't necessarily want me there. They didn't think I was worthy competition based on my gender. It was not fair, but it was true. Now, on this particular day, I was having a real bad day, and I was seriously contemplating dropping out. The stress was intense, and I wasn't sure if I was cut out for it, but I was a Gardner. And if you know, we're stubborn. We're real damn stubborn. And then I got this card in the mail that night from my dad, and it said all the normal stuff, like how the garden was going, how big the crabs were, what Terry and all her kids were doing, what Mama was doing. And then at the bottom of the card, he signed it. "I love you, and you're my hero." So any of you that knew anything about my dad and I idolized him. He was actually my hero. Mom would roll her eyes and say, "He's her hero," every time he'd get in trouble with Mama. And I'd come to his rescue. Poor Daddy, He simply was. He was just big, He was 6'4". He worked in construction. He was strong as an ox. He was larger than life. He was funny. He could make anything from wood. He could laugh at himself. Oh, how his beautiful blue eyes would sparkle when he grinned his little lopsided grin. He could make me laugh so hard. I felt like a bird floating in the breeze in his presence. No wonder I was obsessed with flying. My father was the wind beneath my wings. He was the love of my life, and I will miss him for the rest of mine.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, and for those who have shared. Hopefully, the memories and the stories and such will, continue as you see each other, and in times like this and other times. With that said, folks, we're going to go ahead and conclude the services here. We're just going to have a general dismissal, just so we can give the family just some private moments here as we close. But again, thank you for your time, and thank you for being here today.